Thank you. It's being recorded. It's the 29th, July 29th. Just August around the corner. So exciting. I got some things to update you on, and we'll do our usual updates from the administrators, and then whatever questions you have, you're free to ask always. I hope you're all doing well. We dodged the Douglas bullet. Hopefully you had opportunities to not think about COVID-19 for a couple of days and focus your attentions on an impending hurricane, which is not great, but it's a different set of stresses. I was happy for the distraction. This week, the chancellors and Vice President Lacroix and Mike Basami and others have spent a lot of time trying to understand the modified quarantine, which is being offered to UH students. It's actually a pilot test for what Governor Ige wants to propose for tourists. So to be very brief, this modified quarantine is being extended to students coming to the university from out of state. This includes international students, and this includes resident students who may have traveled to the mainland prior to the start of the semester. They are now coming from out of state. There are 3 options in this modified quarantine. The first is for the student to have been tested 72 hours prior to departure, have the negative test results. If those 2 things have happened and they can show proof thereof, they can arrive and be free to participate in UH activities without being quarantined. Option 2 is taking a test 72 hours before departure, but not having the results in time when they arrive. Then they would be asked to be in strict quarantine until the test results come in and show that they're negative, and then they would be free to attend UH activities. Option 3 is they don't take the test ahead of time at all. They are under strict quarantine and must get tested within 48 hours of arrival, waiting for negative results, and as soon as they get the negative results, they would be free to participate in UH activities. Behind all of this is a lot of communication back and forth through Google, e-signed documents, letters going from the university to the student being able to show this to TSA when they come in, and being exempt from Department of Transportation monitoring, but would be under university monitoring. Students who would be approved for this modified quarantine would need to be contacted randomly and multiple times over the 14-day period to make sure that they are doing what they are doing. When we asked about the availability of testing for non-US out-of-state people, we were told, I was told by the director of the UH Manoa Health Center that as of this date, the Department of Health has not certified any non-US testing centers or tests. So it would be impossible for our international students to be tested prior to arrival. So we're all pretty convinced that our international students are best served by taking the 14-day quarantine period and not going through all of these hoops right now. We don't know if we will have US out-of-state students doing the modified quarantine. That communication has not gone out to students yet. The UHITS is still developing that health check app that we're all going to have to use when it's ready. And that health check app is going to have an additional question for the students who've been approved for modified quarantine. So once that app is ready, then the university will roll out the communication to all students who have non-Hawaii permanent addresses in Banner. That message will go out to them, offering them the opportunity to have modified quarantine. Okay. We have Kulia COVID stipend opportunities for students who have been furloughed or who are now unemployed as a result of COVID. It's a $500 stipend, which they can use to pay for courses and books. When the announcement went out, Shannon Sakai was on it like in a New York minute, had a video out to our students who are returning adults. And in the first 24 hours, we had over half of the applications that were submitted. There were 148, I think, and we had over half of them. There will be an update on how many students have applied. That's being done centrally. There are a couple of things that are in front of unions right now. One is the sort of permanent work from home policy. That's in front of the unions. The UPA is expected to respond to that one on Friday. Also in front of the unions are face masks and daily check-in and the requirements thereof. That's in front of the unions as well. We are all going to have to do COVID testing, training, or, no, I'm sorry, back up, not COVID testing, COVID training. There will be an online training that we're all going to be required to do, and that's going to be developed by the system. Let's see, what else? The P20 guys and the UH community colleges just got a $3 million 3-year grant to work on improving the college going rate and college going rate for high schools. And our part of it is a one-click admissions process. That is to simplify and streamline the process to encourage more students. Okay, so let's see, there's a couple of questions in here before I turn it over to the other administrators for updates. Would option 3 not work for international students? The difficulty with option 3 is it is currently very difficult to get a test within 48 hours. There are not very many places where you can walk in and get tested. There's also a rather long delay for getting the results, from 7 to 10 days. So in effect, 7 to 10 days plus the 48 hours, it comes out to about the same. So it is an option for them, but it might be a challenging one to actually get done within 14 days. Guy put something up. Testing is done on UH camp. No, we do not do testing. The only people I believe who are doing testing on their campus is maybe Maui. They are approved for testing and they have a health center, but we are not approved for testing. Louise says, this person is taking all online classes. Can she be, she is still subject? Yes. The only people who are not required to provide proof of vaccinations are those students who are currently enrolled in the 5-week online program. Even if you're taking 100% online courses and you're not enrolled in that online program, you are still subject to TB-MMR and other vaccination certifications. That's why we have applied for and been approved for an online AA with that special code, online 2 accounting certificates with that special code, and the online intensive English program with that special code going forward. But you need to be enrolled in an online program. Why? It's because if you're enrolled in an online program that has that special code and you are a student trying to enroll in classes, you only see online classes. You do not see any on-ground courses, which is to make sure that you don't come to campus, because you're not supposed to be on campus without having TB-MMR and all the other alphabets. Faculty, if they travel, they should be quarantining themselves 14 days. Jerry's already answered that question. Chaperone to testing sites, not that I'm aware of. We should assume that there will be some students who will be unable to attend face-to-face class meetings. Thank you, Hal, for asking that question. Yes, you may assume that some students will not be able to attend in person in the first couple of weeks of the semester. So we would be really happy if the faculty would make materials available for students online for all students who may not be able to come physically to campus in the first 2 weeks. Yes, we would be really happy if you could do that. What options are UH offering to non-international out-of-state for testing? USA should not be a problem. The tests have been approved for US and clinical sites have been approved for the US. So if we have students who are coming from out of state, but within the US continent, they can do option 1, get tested 72 hours before and get results. Option 1 and 2, they don't have to wait for 3. Students are allowed to come to the option for the online programs who are approved for online only anticipate that students will not be coming to campus. That's it. We are not tracking students who are in the 5-week program right now. We don't know if they're coming to campus, but they are exempt. Cheryl, you want to get online and ask me all those questions, please? Who's they?
They is any student who's coming from out of state, right? Because we're saying there's options 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
But students are still talking about having difficulty getting tested.
Yes.
And in that window. So if they weren't able to get tested and they can't take advantage of options 1 or 2, then where do we direct them to try to do option 3 and get tested within the 48 hours of arrival? I mean, like it's good to put an option out there, but if we're not really going to help students in how to fulfill option number 3, then that option doesn't seem to be a very viable one.
Correct. So I think that there's someone who is compiling the list of available testing centers and what each of the testing centers requires. Some require doctor's referral, some must be by, I think most are by appointment. And there's only a couple of places where you can actually just walk in, as far as I know. But I have not seen that list compiled anywhere. I'll check with UH Manoa and see what.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying if they're gonna list that option for students, then they should, have all their homework done so that there are actually options, realistic options for students, rather than the student trying to call around and get frustrated and everybody says, no, you cannot. Right?
No, that's right. And it may be in my notes from that meeting at 7:30 in the morning about this bubble quarantine. I'll check with the UH Manoa folks because they're the ones really taking the lead. They figure to have thousands of students who would be subject to this. So I'm pretty sure that they were going to put something out. But I will make sure that I get that for you. And we're going to follow whatever they do, we're going to do. So I'll make sure I get that, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, other questions about the modified quarantine before I turn it over? Thanks again, Hal, for asking the questions. And yes, please do make materials available to your students, all students who might be not able to be there.
Louise?
Yeah, Kathy?
No, it just, it seems to me that faculty may travel over the summer, whether, they should or should not. It just seems like, why wouldn't these rules also apply to staff or faculty, or, right, why only the students, because we're going to be all coming back at the same time, and just throwing it out there.
Okay. Actually, I think, yeah, I'm not sure, Candy. Should ask the union that one. Gosh. I will ask though. I'll ask the other chancellors. Any other questions about bubbles? One last thing about international students, the rules have kind of changed again. We're still good, don't worry about us, we're still doing okay. But guidance came from CVIS on, and I'll share that with you. It's just easier to put it in writing than it is to talk about it, but it's very confusing. Unless Eugene or Sean, you guys want to say anything right now?
Um,
Go ahead, Eugene.
oh, no, go ahead.
Go, Sean.
For international students, we just got new guidelines, and every time they release new guidelines, there's always a lot of Q&As that come back and so forth, and then some things get modified again. But we did submit the request for exemption because they kind of fell back and rescinded the July 6th information. So long story short, we've fallen back to the March guidelines. So based off of the March guidelines, we are requesting that our international students, our continuing international students, be allowed to register fully online and not be required to take any hybrid or in-person class. And what we mean by continuing would just be from one semester to the next for CVIS purposes. The new incoming students, which would also include transfer students, newly admitted students, and then what we would classify as a returning student. A returning student meaning someone who maybe had graduated and then gone on to OPT and then now has since come back to the college to pursue studies again. We would consider that student a returning student. That classification of student would be required to take one in-person/hybrid course and 3 online courses. Also, we have another population of students, and those are the students that want to continue from abroad. And so that student can also maintain F1 status by being enrolled fully online, 12 credits from overseas. The international student enrollment numbers are fluctuating. There are students that are actually requesting to terminate their I-20 for the fall, but it doesn't mean that they're not taking classes. We also have students that just don't want to be full-time from abroad. So we anticipate that, that we will see students that are enrolled, although their I-20s will be terminated for a reasonable population of these students, they'll be taking classes less than full-time from overseas as well. But with regards to the course offerings and so forth, I think we're positioned well for that. I think we have the appropriate paperwork in. Chancellor has already signed off on these things. We've submitted it to CVIS, so we're good there. If there's one thing that we could encourage, if I could just reinforce what Chancellor had just mentioned, because of extremely limited number of flights coming into Hawaii, these kids are doing a couple of different things. They're spending a lot of money to get over here. And they're also stuck with the 14-day quarantine and of course not being able to come on campus until they complete the vaccinations. We also have a mandatory health insurance requirement that's beginning this fall. That begins on August 16th. And so they wouldn't be able to access the healthcare until that date. So they're going to be people who may be able to come in a little earlier. There's one flight coming directly from Japan, I think on August 6th or some around that time, would be able to buy some supplementary insurance. But if you're able to offer your coursework predominantly online, even for the in-person/hybrid until around the second week of September, and then meeting in person after that, that would be a tremendous help for the newly admitted students that are coming in for fall as new or returning or transfer students.
Sean, there's a question from Cheryl about can they be enrolled full-time online and stay home?
Yes. So if the students choose to stay in their home country and they're enrolled as a continuing student now, not a new student, as a continuing student, if they're enrolled full-time, 12 credits purely online, we will we will register them in CVIS, and CVIS allows for this, and they will continue to be our student from abroad. They must be enrolled in 12 credits in order for that, for them to maintain the F1 status. If they choose not to, and they can, we would simply terminate the I-20. They would need to reapply at a later time to get a new I-20, but they could continue to take less than 12 credits, 1 or 2 online classes, and there are a number of students that are opting to do that as well, in spite of the us terminating the I-20.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, ready to go. Can I ask Noelle, please, to update?
Yeah, so for this update, I actually don't want to talk about enrollment or scholarships or any kind of funding for our students, and really just not talk about students in general. I was trying to look at some numbers when we got here. I think March 18th was probably the first campus Zoom we had back then. Since then to this day, we have over 30 campus Zoom meetings. I think like yourself, this might be your 4th or 5th Zoom meeting for today. And that has become really this, what I'm going to call the COVID norm of what we're doing. And one thing that I kind of wanted to, the whole administration team wanted to bring toward the campus is the seriousness of how hard you are working, but also taking that time to do some self-care, because we are 26 days out from our first day of instruction. And in the blink of an eye, we'll be in our fall semester again, still trying to adjust to this new COVID norm that we're doing. So actually right now, I actually wanted to turn to our mental health counselor, Cindy Mellum, who wanted to talk about some few things that I don't think we talk about enough, but wanted to spend some time to really get this message across to our campus. But go ahead, Cindy.
Thanks, Noelle. Thank you, Louise, and the whole rest of the admin team for inviting me to speak a little bit about your wellness. And thank you all of you for giving me a few minutes, maybe around 10. Just a reminder that you are actually your most valuable resource. So you've got to take care of yourself. There's kind of lots in the papers about the word self-care, but I just wanted to share something today that I came across, and it's the idea of self-compassion. Nothing that I really share is my idea. So this is from Kristen Neff, but I thought that it was valuable, and I'm hoping that it's helpful for you. So if I can share my screen, and
I hope you can, because I have no control.
I think Jamie set me up already. Can you guys see that? Are you guys seeing that?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff. Basically the idea, kind of the different way that she presents it. If I can figure out how to advance. I don't know how to advance while I'm in Zoom. Oh, there we go. She breaks it down kind of into the more Chinese philosophy of yin and yang, where there's feminine ways to take care of ourselves and be compassionate, and more masculine ways. So some of the feminine ways might be what most of us are used to. It's kind of leaning into the emotions. It's being okay with not being okay, being warmer and tender with ourselves, and just kind of open to whatever it is that's going on. The part that often gets overlooked is a more masculine way of looking at ourselves, or I'm sorry, of taking care of ourselves. And that might, that's a kind of a stronger way. It's really about protection and taking action for yourself. It's about saying no or setting limits, figuring out your needs, and then really stepping up to make a change. I'm just giving real quick highlights. So some questions you might ask yourself as you're switching gears and not focusing so much on students and your work here, but really back on yourself, is the yin side for comfort. What's one thing that you can do what's one thing that I can do to take care of my emotional needs? Something soothing, the question might be, what's one thing I can do to help me feel calmer or more at ease? Something validating, a question might be, what can I say to myself to validate my feelings? The more masculine or yang perspective would be focused on protecting, providing, and motivating ourselves. And these are the following questions that might be helpful. What's one thing I can do to stop the hurt or harm that's caused by myself or others? To provide some self-compassion is what's one thing I can do to get me or give me what I need. And last, to motivate yourself, you might ask, what can I say to motivate myself with kindness and support without the criticism? So an example of that might be if you're feeling burnt out at work. The more yin approach, or the feminine approach, might be to take a hot bath at the end of the day, play nice relaxing music, maybe have a little drink in moderation, maybe have a cigar and just kind of relax. And the more yang thing, or the more masculine way of taking care of yourself, might be to actually speak up to your boss, ask for a lighter workload, or ask for some time off, or to look at what you're doing that may be contributing, like you're just not saying no, taking on too many projects. So making some changes there. So I'm hoping that's helpful for you to kind of focus back on yourself and look at different ways to be compassionate to yourself. In the future, there's some talk about having these like really quick Wellness Wednesday tips. Again, I don't have all the information. There's so many of you out there who do a great job at practicing self-care and have a lot to share. So if you or a colleague might want to speak for a few minutes at one of these in the future, then please email me, and I'm going to try to coordinate some of that. And I do want to thank people for chiming in on the email that I sent out to the CAC open list and sharing your tips there. So I'll be contacting some of you to see if you want to speak out here. And that's all that I have.
Thanks, Cindy. Any questions or comments for Cindy?
No, if I could just follow up with Cindy's message that when this whole COVID started, I think a lot of you found yourself in this COVID sprint to either prepare, to adapt, to react. And we're going through that same thing as we prepare for the fall semesters, all these changes come across. Please really kind of take some time to think about your own well-being and how long you can actually do this sprint, because this COVID sprint is going to become a COVID lifestyle as we go through this fall and spring. And we really want to take this time from your administrators to really recognize the work you guys have been doing, but to remember to kind of take care of yourselves as you do this, because the burden is becoming increasingly more and more, especially when the changes come. And as we've seen, the governor's address has been going on, and there might be more changes coming on. So please take time to kind of take care of yourselves throughout this whole time period. But thanks, Cindy.
Yeah, don't forget yourself in this. People depend on you.
Take care, gang. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. That's what the flight attendants say, right? Put the mask on yourself before you help others. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not much good for other people. And yeah, we're in it for the long haul, you guys, but we are resilient and we are strong, and we will manage. Okay, thanks. Brian, you have an update for the campus.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I just had a quick update regarding parking permits this year. If you guys go back it was over the course of a couple of, I think, town Zooms, about 3-4 weeks ago, there was a number of people who said, hey, please change the process and keeping with how we're trying to take everything electronic now so that there's less of a need to pass paper around. We are doing just that. So first and foremost, I do not know when we will be able to give the parking permits out. And the biggest reason why is we normally had them printed locally, but because of COVID and refocus of the print shop that we used to use, which was at Honolulu, we had to go to the mainland. So we ordered it from a firm in Virginia, and we don't really know when they'll be coming in. Of course, we're crossing our fingers it's going to come in before the start of the school year. But the process we're now going to be using is going to be a Google form. I'll be sending that link out. We'll be asking folks to fill out the Google form, and it's just going to have the most pertinent information: name, position, title, department, contact information, name, make, model of your car, etc. And then you will submit that form. The part that we can't really change is you will still need to come in person to pick up your pass, but we're not going to require you to have to walk down to Olapua. There will be 3 locations on the main campus, all in the Lima building. It's going to be the cashier's office, the HR office, or the Vice Chancellor of Admin Services office. And we made those 3 offices available because, as you know, we're kind of high traffic areas and we don't necessarily want you guys to be waiting in long lines. Once you've submitted the information, you show up, you're going to show us your driver's license and proof of insurance, and we'll give you your permit. And everything will be obviously recorded from the Google form. We'll have that in a spreadsheet or a Google sheet. And it's pretty much as simple as that. But I wanted to let you guys know, I know that there were some complaints about having to walk to Olapua. There were some complaints about having a paper process. And so this is the best we could do right now, given the limited time to address it and change it. We will continue to plan to make it more and more electronic as we move forward. Any questions? Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay. Questions for Brian?
Yeah.
Alfred?
Previously, when we filled out one of those forms, all we did was list the insurance company. So now you want us to bring a letter or insurance card? So
you don't. That's a good question. No, that's a really good question. I'm not sure who's asking the question. I can't see on my Zoom here, but that's
Alfred Zeta.
Oh, it's Alfred Zeta. Okay, it's a good question, and I'm glad you asked that. You're right. In years past, the form actually said, "Do you simply ask the question yes or no? Do you have current auto insurance?" But as I spoke about this internally with folks internal to the campus, as well as more importantly external to the campus, we were the only campus not asking for proof of insurance. We don't need to see the card. You can show us the app on your phone. You can show us a photocopy of it, a PDF of it. In fact, if you're anything like me, I would strongly recommend you don't remove your insurance card. Instead, make a printout of it or use your app on your phone or what have you, because I'm the one who always forgets to bring it back to my car. And the one time that I do end up getting pulled over, it's, of course, when I don't have my card in my vehicle. So that's all we're asking for. But the recommendation was to see that proof of insurance because of all of the different things that occur on campus. The fact that we had a death on campus during our farmers market a few years ago was something that really resonated with the legal, with our Office of General Counsel.
Other questions?
Candy, yeah, taking a picture of it's fine. The main thing that we're looking for, obviously, is that it's your vehicle is covered. That's it.
Okay, thanks very much, Brian. John Richards.
Hey, aloha, everybody. I wanted to share with the campus some of the transitions that are going on in our culinary operations. Effective Friday, our RCUH employees that staff the cafeteria and some of our other culinary functions will no longer be employed by RCUH. That is ending. These employees essentially are no longer employed by Kapiolani unless we receive signed contracts from what has been carrying us since COVID started, which was the community feeding programs, the Kapuna and youth feeding programs that we've been doing. Those contracts end Friday. and we have a number of contracts that are out there, and they may happen, but we don't know that. So I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to at least know this, give you an opportunity, if you've made friends over the years with some of the folks down there, reach out to them. And you know, they're certainly hurting right now with all of this. It's very unsure. We just don't know. We don't have anything that we can bank on, and it's changing all of their lives pretty dramatically. And they have been so loyal and very consistent with this campus for a long time, longer than I've been here. So our team is working as hard as we can to come up with options and alternatives and a new way of thinking, the new normal. What does that look like? Given that we're still not sure what's going to happen in fall, we're not sure what's going to happen with cafeteria services, except that it won't be what it was. And we're working on other options to make sure that we have food covered for our campus. And we will keep you informed as soon as we know what that is. We work on this every day, and it's very sad news. But I wanted to make sure you all knew that. So if you've made friends over the years, send an email or something just to let them know that you are thinking about them. It'd be much appreciated. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Questions for John? Okay, Maria. There's a question, John. Which positions are these exactly? Cashiers, cooks?
Yes, yes, and yes. Everybody. There's a few management positions that are still with us, but we're repurposing those job descriptions to fit what we believe the new normal will be. But yeah, it's cashiers and cooks. You're welcome.
Cafeteria will continue to be closed in the fall? Question mark.
That's correct. It will not be open as it has ever been in the past. Administration is working on options, a number of options, and there may be a combination of food trucks. We may have an academic course expanding, what, 220 Grill in Kaikena, and a pop-up grab and go. We don't know, but we're exploring all options at this point.
Okay. Maria?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to touch bases with you, faculty, regarding the proctoring of exams in the fall semester. I think I have identified 4 locations that we can use, classrooms that are big enough, like or the cafeteria. But as I said before, we need to be able to schedule the classes so that you're all not going to be using the rooms at the same time. So what I'm going to do is maybe work with the department chairs and create a Google form so that we could, as you plan your schedule for the fall semester, you can put in the dates when you think you will be giving your exams. Final exam, that's all set, right? But still include it because, you know, you might need a big classroom. These are for the bigger classes. You know, like we have a lot of classes. They're hybrid, but there's like 35 students in a class. So they really will need a very big room in order to hold an exam. So I will be working with the department chairs, but please plan on your schedule way ahead of time so that we can schedule them in the rooms that we are reserving for these proctored exams. I think the ones who are going to be definitely affected by this would be the ones who are doing hybrid classes. Face-to-face, you have your classrooms already. Online, you don't need a classroom. I mean, you don't come to campus, right? So it's primarily, I think, the hybrid classes that would be affected by this. So that's all I have to say. but I'll be working with the department chairs on this one.
Questions for Maria?
I saw one thing on the chat list about the governor trying to bring us back down to 10. How would that affect our face-to-face classes?
I think the gatherings of 10 is like social gatherings, right? I don't know that it impacts classroom gatherings.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not David Ige.
I know.
But you know, we put that line right in the class availability that says we don't know at any time we might have to go back to
Online.
total lockdown.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that means yet about the spike today, but you saw the number, right? It's like 109 today. But please understand that's 109 cases on a much broader denominator of 5,000 tests, because they didn't do any test results for the last couple of days because of the hurricane. So this is just an accumulation. All of a sudden we get 3 days worth of results in one day. So they usually have about 1,000 or so tests. That's what I was told today. And now they did about 5,000 tests. So Donald Trump is right. You know, the more you test, the more cases you're going to have. So there you go.
Bite your tongue, Chancellor.
Hey.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that out loud. Sorry.
No, you're supposed to only think that. We are not political. Okay, this is going to be edited out. Yeah, it is worrying, of course, but it's accumulation. Okay, that's it. Unless any of the other administrators realize that they're burning to say something.
I have something to say.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Hi. Sorry to hear about our reduction in force on campus. I didn't know if it was important to share with y'all, but I guess I will. We at the UH Foundation also had a reduction in force earlier this month, and they had to eliminate or lay off a few, 5 fundraisers. So I've noticed in the community that it's been a little bit hard for our donors and constituents to try to reach us. So I'd like to say, you know, if at all possible, you get some weird phone call that says, I'd like to reach a development office somewhere here for Leeward or West Oahu or Kauai or UH Hilo, that you can point to anybody you know, meaning me or even the Chancellor's office, and we need to get them to the right person to help them. So it was 10% of our staff, and we hope that we've cut wide enough to hold a little bit longer. But it's just the reality of things. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm in our directory, and I can post my information in the chat very shortly here. So just help everybody and be a resource and get us to the right people and get the right people to us. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Lynn. Sally corrected me too, if you look in the chat. It wasn't 5,000 tests. It was 1,653 tests. Thank you. Any updates on the status of plans for getting disinfecting supplies, paper towels to the classrooms? Brian? This
Yes.
is Colleen. In the chat, there's a question. When can we expect
any
the
updates?
supplies?
Oh yeah, so we're going to be putting them within the classroom. We're trying to figure out what would look best. There is some feng shui-ness and some fashionability in this whole thing. We're not going to just go put it in a box in the corner of a classroom. So we're really trying to identify the right containers to put it in. But like has been repeated before, each of our classrooms or spaces, because it's not just classrooms, is going to have either what's going to have gel, hand sanitizer, as well as spray, disinfecting spray and paper towels. In certain circumstances, like in computer labs, we will have wipes, disinfecting wipes, because you can't spray on computers. And we'll put those in the classroom.
Thanks, Brian. Other questions?
Brian, just time frame on that?
Is before August 24th okay?
Well, I just,
our goal right now is we want to get everything squared away and prepared for the campus before by the end of August 14th, because the 17th is when everybody, comes back to campus. We are really cranking and pushing out the build outs. You guys have seen, for those of you coming to campus, you have seen our 3 new buildings in the parking lot of Lot C, and those are Container 1, Container 2, and Container 3. We also have another 4th container in Lot D, and those are going to be for, all the offices, all the spaces that we're removing furniture from. So we're just trying to take care of all of those things. Putting the sanitation supplies out is something that's, we feel is pretty easy for us to have to do. We have to worry about the bigger issues right now. So we'll get those out though. And I like I said, before the end of August 14th is our goal.
Yeah, thanks. And I wasn't asking to push, to push that. It's just, I know our faculty has been anxious to understand what's available. And so that, that week before duty week, I know they're very, very anxious to get into the classroom and kind of understand what's going to be involved. So yeah, that week before classes start would be great. And thank you for all that.
Check the chat also, because Jamie put in infomercial for summer camp. Starts next week. You're encouraged to attend and join your colleagues. Always good things happen when faculty get together. UH Admin Student Affairs has created an appendix to the policy, infectious disease, blah, blah. Yep, that's the, Candy's talking about the addendum to the Student Conduct Code specifically for behaviors associated with COVID-19. Denise, oh no, Brandon is cover boy. Okay, congratulations, Brandon Mark, on the HGEA Employee Bulletin.
Louise?
Yes, Dave.
While we're on the subject of Brandon Mark, can I just do a quick shout out and thank you to him?
Sure.
We had a grant thing that looked like a small little speed bump and getting it ready, and it turned out to be a huge sinkhole that we all fell into. If it wasn't for Brandon Mark, we wouldn't have been able to work our way out so easily. And I just wanted to thank him for taking care of that for us, but also too just for his decorum and his professionalism and preparedness in everything that he does all the time. He's just always a great resource to go to. So I wanted to thank Brandon.
Yeah.
And since I've got the floor, can I just do one more thing?
Oh, yes.
Oh, sure. Well, these are nice things. These are positive things.
Yes,
So
they are. Please, more
I've
positive things. All
Yes.
day, all the time. Go.
I just wanted to mention that I've been doing takeout from the Top to Go group all summer long. I have not been the best student by any stretch of the imagination, but I just wanted to mention how having all of these resources in one sort of central spot is just a huge undertaking. And not only just to capture that and put it all together, put videos so that we can understand, but also to do it with such joy and humor and, collegiality, which is, listening to Cindy a short while ago, I can't tell you how much it means to many of us to have an escape just a little while, to think of something fun and to laugh. And do those kind of things. To Helen and to Jamie and to Yo-Yo and to Carl, and I'm probably missing a whole boatload of people. Thank you for that little shot in the arm that we get with Top to Go.
Great. More of the same in summer camp.
Yeah, don't forget, summer camp is coming up. If you have not signed up yet, please do so. Jamie will put up the link.
I've already bought my bug spray.
I didn't think you needed it. Got marshmallows. Look, I think it was great. It was, so much is determined by the attractiveness of the materials, and you just want to go ahead and do summer camp just because, not just because, but the graphics make it that much more fun. And we are very, very fortunate to have such a dedicated and creative team helping us all learn better how to be technology mavens. So thank you.
So sorry, did I hear promise of s'mores? Was I hearing that? Did I get that?
S'mores.
S'mores, huh? Are we? Oh, the campfire?
Yeah. It's a very American thing. I gotta say, I didn't know anything about s'mores till I came to Hawaii in 1980.
Oh.
I had my first s'more when I was 30 years old.
Yeah, it's quite a gourmet treat.
Anybody else have questions or stories to share? Good news, positive stories, happy times?
Louise.
Yes, Brian.
I just want to address, Guy Kellogg's asked the question a couple of times regarding tents on the Great Lawn. So right now there are no plans for tents in the Great Lawn. We did debate this, and we haven't shut the door on the tents, on any type of tents out there right now. But we currently are not going to be procuring them. As you guys know, there's a little bit of a sordid history between tents and this campus that stemmed to about February of 2017. And in fact, we are still potentially at risk of being sued by over 182 students who were or have claimed to be injured at that science fair. And it's not until they it's not until they turn 18 or older in which we will be no longer liable to cover any type of medical bills that they may incur. But again, it's not shut down. We're not shut out to any type of decision on that. It's just that right now we're not going in that direction. And to answer your question, yes, Jan, 2017, February, Honolulu District Science Fair. Of course, only a handful of individuals who work at the campus are here, and mostly DOE, Freak. We knew there was going to be rain and some wind, but not the extent we got. And a freak storm just came in, lifted a 500 max capacity person tent. So if you guys can imagine, a huge circus tent was essentially lifted off of the ground by this huge upsurge of wind and landed on all of the people underneath that tent. Now, luckily, because it was so rainy and muddy, there were only a few people out there, but there were still over 200 people under that tent, and over 182 were kids or minors. So that's essentially what happened.
Fortunately for us, Mrs. Ige had already left the campus and was not under the tent when the tent collapsed. But it was a really scary thing because we had to lift the tent up to get everybody out from under it because they were trapped under the tent that had fallen heavy with rain. It was an incredible, very scary actually. We lost 5 trees, right, Brian, that day? 5 trees.
Oh, no, we lost 17 trees.
17 trees.
Almost lost the chapel.
The top of
the chapel. A huge tree landed on top of the chapel. Luckily, it was just a window, and there were some holes that were poked into the second floor wall. Kalia, as if you guys remember, Kalia was underneath 3 inches of what they call a Category 3 water, which may or may not include feces. And that was all cleaned up. If you know, so there was a lot attached to this this problem we had, but the tents were the biggest concern because they're really, I mean, kids could have died. And it was a bad situation. And we think about it now, was pretty intense, man. That was the scariest I have ever been as a vice chancellor.
Yeah. The second scariest time was when Manolo Morales came to the office to ask me questions about, didn't we know it was going to rain? Why did we insist on having the science fair with the microphone in my face? So yeah. Yeah, we all ran to the tent. So we have an aversion to tents. So if you don't see a lot of tents, it's because, and so I'm surprised that we actually did it that whole time when the cafeteria was out of commission. So yeah, we had to really, you could have noticed how big the barrels were that tied down the tent then.
But again, Guy, and for all of you out there, this is something we kind of have to monitor. We're not entirely against no tents. We just got to get the right vendor. We have to do things properly. And we have to see. I mean, if not having space would be actually a good problem for us. Because that means that we have less reduction in enrollment as we thought.
Angela.
I mean, if there is such a thing as a good problem. So we'll continue to discuss it.
You saw what Angela wrote, Brian. Post-traumatic tent disorder.
Yeah, all of you guys with your jokes, man. Come on. That was the scariest time I've ever had. Come on. Who said intentional? Oh, that was you, LP. Come on. All right, not funny.
I couldn't help it. It's contagious. Okay. Anything else? You got 3 minutes. Anybody in the audience would like to share anything?
It's Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
So talking about enrollment, there have been a lot of people that have been really working hard and across departments and units to help each other. And I just wanted to report that our enrollment is at 4,988 today, which is amazing to me. And, people are still working hard. So I just wanted to congratulate everybody, not only the student affairs side, but, the faculty have been asking their students to come to those info sessions, the instructional faculty. And it's just really wonderful to watch everybody working to really try to get our enrollment up. So I just want to thank everybody for that.
Yep. Sign waving on Friday, right, Sheldon?
So if you're able to make it, I'm going to be on the Great Lawn like around 10:45 to rally up everyone to give some instructions to be safe. And then have fun from 11 to 1. No dancing, Brian, got it.
Okay. Anything else from anybody in the audience? It's not really audience because we're all on this I'm sorry, that shouldn't. We're all on this Zoom together. You're not the audience. We're all equally squared. Well, I counted 137 people at the height. So thank you very much, everybody, for continuing to engage with these calls, engage with each other. As Cindy said, take care of yourself. Do the things you need to do to bring you joy. It's really important. Do right by each other, by the people you love. Wash your hands, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, and be well. We'll see you guys next week, Wednesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Unmute yourself. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Laters.
Always Alfie got to get the word in.
Always
right?
wait for Alfie, I know.
Bye.
Bye.